Hey everyone, I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys. I've been trading cannabis stocks for the last 14 years. Long ago, I speculated that we would be looking for the Schedule 3 final decision late summer into the fall because that's what I would do if I wanted to coast on some headline momentum into the election. I also talked about back in May, going back to all cash in the sector, not sitting through the summer bleed and waiting for late summer, early fall to start paying attention again and looking for a run up into the vote. Well, here we are. The days are getting a little bit shorter. There's a chill in the air in the morning. We are in late summer heading towards early fall. So does that mean it's time to start paying attention to the sector again? We'll talk about Florida, we'll talk about the charts and what we need to see from here. So we have an unconfirmed anonymous source from the DEA saying that the decision will come by October, which means essentially we've got 5 more weeks before that would happen. I'm not holding my breath on any anonymous timelines, but I am starting to pay attention for that possibility. What I care most about, as I keep saying, is Florida. Florida is going to be my main focus because regardless, we know any federal changes that could benefit the sector will benefit any Florida names, and we know there's an extra dangling carrot for the possibility that we get a positive result in the vote in November. If that were to happen, I would expect Florida stocks to see very significant upside to the tune of 50% plus. So I think there is more opportunity in the Florida stocks. That being said, we also have word from Trump when he most recently, and really for the first time in a long time, ever addressed cannabis. He said that in the near term, he would be commenting on the Florida vote. And that is going to matter to me because I do believe that whether he is pro or against that amendment, it's going to significantly shift the probabilities of whether it passes or not. And so depending on what he says is going to determine the aggressiveness of my position size. Right now, I'm only focusing on Trulieve just to keep things simple because my focus is elsewhere in the market. This is not the right sector to be focusing on as a full-time trader. It is something that can provide spurts of opportunity, and it's gone very well over the last 52 weeks, trading this sector and selling into momentum, taking some profits, and reloading during fear. But this is not the main focus. This is my side focus until we get headlines, catalysts, and volume. Volume's the most important thing that's missing. Volume will tell us there's interest and price action will follow and come right along with volume. So have to see that happen. So going back to that, if Trump says he's pro, I'm going to be all in, Trulieve, into that vote. And if Trump says he's against, I'm going to be sized down and not as aggressive. And that has nothing to do with any of my political opinions whatsoever. It's just logically looking at probabilities and how potential events will shift probabilities, and my position sizes will reflect what I feel the probabilities are. So that is my main focus as we go forward here over the next couple of months. So I do have a Trulieve position. I've got a bunch of cash sitting and waiting and just being real patient. From the broader market perspective, we had a big wave of fear. We had a sucker punch that I call it. I just did a webinar this past week describing what the sucker punch is in a way to trade it. So check out our YouTube channel for that. But the market is back up near all-time highs. Fear was quickly alleviated, and I'm still seeing things that are showing me strength in the broader market between the NASDAQ, the financial sector, and the healthcare sector. So there are no major red flags for me at the moment in the broader market. And we know that this sector has been underperforming pretty much every sector in the market over the last 3 months. It's a clear downtrend still. So MSOS, what is needed? We know the 820 level is the most important level in the short term here. It's a double top. We failed by 1 penny. If I'm a bear, I look at this chart and I say I have absolutely nothing to worry about if 820 is resistance because that's keeping the lower highs and that's keeping bear control. We are consistently struggling with weekly EMA 12 resistance. Reject, 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 close right on it, reject. So anything under 819, 820 is a lower high. And actually, technically, it was just set only by a couple pennies. If anything's going to shift, it has to be this inverse head and shoulders. Bitcoin just gave us a daily inverse head and shoulders leading to the shift. This has to happen on the weekly time frame. So MSOS must hold 620 and then come up and break 780. And then if it's going to follow through, 820 has to break right behind it. Let's just look at that Bitcoin one real quick for an example. Looking for the weekly inside bar bull break, so scouting a bullish pattern on the daily, and it was just this lower high, lower low, higher low, confirmed, and then some follow through. So an inverse head and shoulders is a bullish reversal pattern. It just shows lower highs and lower lows to a higher low and a higher high. So we have to see that happen on the MSOS weekly chart. Anything less, and the bears keep their complete control. TCNNF, tightening up as well. So I'm viewing this personally as low, high, higher low, lower high, and now we're testing support of 940. If 940 breaks, we're back in a daily downtrend. Weekly consolidation will be clearly underway. And key resistance, 1045 and 1059. I keep talking about it on Twitter, but people always say, you can't trade these OTC names. There's not enough liquidity. Technical analysis doesn't work. And I just look at my results trading this sector, and it just makes me want to pull my hair out. And I can't show everybody the light. But TCNNF, go back and look at every time it gaps up. It's a 90% win rate with what these market makers are doing. Why do we gap up? It's not supply and demand because there is not pre-market trading. It is market makers determining where the opens and the closes are. Here is a gap down open, huge bull day. Gap up open, days of consolidation. Gap down open, days of upside. Gap up open, days of consolidation. It's not some kind of secret here. It's just very clear on the chart. The last 5 periods of the last 5 gap ups. 1, 2, give me a minute here to find them all. Didn't gap there. This was a gap up. This was a gap up. The market makers are very clearly using them to mark tops. I mean, just look at this. This is a gap up open, straight drop 32%. Gap up open, straight drop in one day of 16%. In the end, it ends up 27%. There's one more gap up in here I'm missing right now, but gap up here, not a huge pullback, 10% though. I sell every gap up open. I sell partial. Even if it's not in my game plan whatsoever, if I look in and say, oh, we're gapping up open, I'm taking 20% of my position off every single time because of the high probability of this setup. Gap downs are not as probable, but when we're gapping down, generally I'm looking to the upside. Again, it's just noticing patterns. Here's a gap up open, marking a long-term top. There's just so many examples. You recognize a pattern, and then you utilize it. Anyways, all about 940 for TCNNF. GTBIF, look at the weekly chart. Just make a simple statement. If weekly EMA 12, this red line, if that is resistance, absolutely nothing changes from slow grind bear control. It's not surprising we get a bearish summer because that is what this sector has been doing since I've been trading. 2013, I was in chat rooms on iHub talking about the summer bleed of the cannabis sector, maybe 2014. But a decade ago, it's not something new, especially on the OTC. And so here's a rejection, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, pretty much 11 weeks in a row rejecting from that level. And nothing's going to change as long as that keeps happening. Support is 995. Nothing changes unless we get over 12. 12 is the most important. There's a lot of these names have this double top. MSOS 820, 819. GTBIF double top at 12. And we'll see more as we go on down the line here. Curaleaf, weak. Curaleaf can bounce 20% and still be in a weekly downtrend. So don't forget that, how much work some of these names have to do. From where we stand, the last weekly lower high is in the 440s. That's 38% away. So again, without it, unless we get a news catalyst and shoot up, and keep in mind, if we get a news catalyst and shoot up, I'm selling that move. We just have so many examples. You just got to go off history. If we get a news catalyst, Schedule 3, and Curaleaf shoots straight up to $4.20, and the daily RSI is getting overbought, I don't have a Curaleaf position, but I would definitely be scaling out into that move and at least taking half the position off to lock in profit. The reason I'm able to stay ahead trading the sector bullish is because I have no fear of leaving money on the table, and I sell into strength, at least partial positions, to get my cost basis right down low. The last time I did it on Trueleaf, I forget exactly where it was. It was the news. So the headline when Trump first mentioned cannabis, and I was in it at 960s, and I sold some just under 10. I sold some, 1040s. I sold some on this gap. So within 2 days of trading, if I'm in at 960 and I sell 2/3 of my position, with an average of over 10, my break even is down in the $7. Maybe I sold 3/4 of my position. I forget exactly what it was, but the new position that I have on my most recent position on Trueleaf that I grabbed on this news day, its cost basis is in the $7 range because I sold the majority of it, and that gap up open convinced me to sell even more of it. And so that's how you do it. I have nothing to worry about on that position. I'm not going to be in the red on that position anytime soon. And if we drop back down to $7 range, it's a huge red flag and I exit break even. So Curaleaf is weak. Daily is tight. Volatility could be coming here soon. But again, it's just the most significant shift. Again, we look at relative strength and weakness. And the reason I'm focusing on TCNNF, again, the Florida carrot, but it's also showing us relative strength for TCNNF against MSOS has been in an uptrend long-term all year, and it's still strong, holding on. The biggest shift this past week, there was some rebalancing in one of the ETFs, MJUS, I believe it was, and small caps got a big bump, and large caps sold off a bit while that was happening. But look at Curaleaf divided by MSOS, which shows us relative strength. We were sideways for a year. For almost all year, it broke bear. We broke to the weakest on that drop. We tied the weakest that Curaleaf has been compared to MSOS in the last 2+ years. That is significant. I drew these lines long ago and I said, if we're in this range, nothing is changing. Well, we're out of that range. It was a bear break and it went into Cresco. I'm simplifying things, but CRLBF divided by MSOS hit the highest level of the year. So as Curaleaf hits the lowest level in 2.5 years and Cresco hits the highest level in a year plus, clearly capital was shifting from one to the other within this sector. The small caps, as I mentioned, saw a benefit. It was fairly short-lived, but again, these double tops, 434, can't use technical analysis, then why in the world are we rejecting to the penny on these names? Hit 434 to the penny, and here we are on that rejection, now down 15% in the matter of a few days. If you sell half your position when you fail resistance, you're not going to nail the tops and the bottoms, but you can shave 5% off. You get that 5% of the 15% range. I'm not going to sell right at 434. I'm going to give the bulls a chance, but as soon as we break the low of that day, the next day, $4, red flag, sell half my position, reload it at 380 if I want it back real quick. It takes activity. I know not everybody has the time to do it, but again, it's definitely possible. There's not many fake outs on these charts is the point I'm trying to make. It's fairly straightforward. IIPR is easily the most bullish name in the sector. It's easily the least talked about name in this sector. Why is it the most bullish? Because it's the most correlated to the broader market. Why is it the most correlated to the broader market? It trades on the NYSE, and it has an average of over $100 million traded every week. It is the big name in the cannabis sector. So here we are testing the bounce high of 125.45. Here we are up over 100% from the last 50, 60 weeks, whatever. Still long term, a lot of work to do, but we're in a monthly uptrend, a weekly uptrend, and a daily uptrend. No other cannabis name can say that I'm aware of. SNDL, I like its tightening range. We've got our high, low, lower high, higher low. It's nice and clear. If the inside bar breaks bear, we'll have a new lower high set and we'll keep tightening up and we'll break early September from this range. There's a very clear base of support. Holding, holding, holding. Lower high resistances. We know volatility is coming in a matter of a few weeks when this range breaks. So I like it for that purpose. Nice and clear. Always looking for clarity. CGC, clear downtrend. Weekly bounce, just a lower high at 865. New weekly bounce. Well, didn't even really get much follow through, but 721, new weekly lower high. So it's all about 550 the low and 721. Have to hold one and break the other if anything's going to shift. If it doesn't, the downtrend will continue and the bears will keep their complete control. And again, you just got to remember the longer term time frames because back here, oh man, we're back. Look at this move. It's a nice, worthwhile move. It's a 40% move or whatever it was, but you're zoomed out and saying, well, anything under 1195 is just a weekly lower high. And I know that's the most likely scenario, so I don't get too bullish on the daily chart. because I know the weekly lower high is the most likely scenario. And so that keeps you in a take some profit mindset. TLRY, volatility is coming here as well. Love how it's tightening. We just keep holding that 60-cent range, that 160s. This wick is fake. That did not happen. If you zoom in the day that wick dropped down, there's no volume behind it. So still holding the 160s and just this lower high. I mean, I draw this downtrend anchored here, reject, reject, reject. I drew it when we were right up testing it. And I said, all right, if we pull back one more time from here, then this is going to be a key downtrend resistance line for me just as a visual guide. And again, it's just the constant lower highs. TLRY has not confirmed a weekly uptrend in years. We've had big moves, but we never get the higher low, higher high follow through, which leads to always giving the move back. Lower high, 215 is the most important level from here. Again, volume and volatility coming. Gotta see volume in these names for bulls to shift momentum. And MSOS right now has, I always take short information with a grain of salt, but there's posts going around about MSOS with the lowest amount of short volume in a long time, maybe of the year. I forget what the metric is. Lowest in a long time. And you get the perma bulls saying, if there's a ton of shorts, they'll say, great, that's fuel for the squeeze. If there's no shorts, they say, they know a bull move is coming. I would rather have a ton of shorts right now because that is more bull fuel if a move gets going. I don't like the fact that it's the lowest short number in a long period of time. I do like the fact that sentiment is so bearish on Twitter in this space. That's a good thing heading into a potential fundamental cycle bullish environment. So that's good. And again, I posted the other week. It wasn't even me. Poor Joey was posting for me while I was gone. Posting simple MSOS charts. And so many people, why are you doing TA on this? This is going nowhere. This is junk. And I had to go back to Twitter and show that in the last 52 weeks, my cannabis long only account is up 170% in the last 52 weeks. And MSOS is up 55, 60% over that same period of time. And so again, it's a humble brag, but I'm just trying to show you that it is very easy to be profitable. No, it is not easy. It takes a ton of time and effort. I'm using my prior decade plus of thousands of hours to be able to do it. But it is possible to be trading this sector bullish and profiting. And that's why I do it. All the comments are, why do you keep following this sector? It's doing nothing. 170% in 52 weeks is a ton of opportunity. It's just selling into momentum to have the cash to reload. M&MD psychedelic space. So dropping down to lower lows, double whammy of bad news. We had dilution news, and then we had news of the rejection of MDMA for PTSD. So here's how I'm wrong, when I'm wrong. So I entered, we were looking for a monthly high or low, battle for $7. I missed this move. I entered on this consolidation. I believe it was this day, this nice follow-through day that I entered. So I'm in the lower $8 range. What do? I sell some into strength. I sold a bit in the $9 range. Now my break even's in the 7s. We drop back down. To drop all the way back down to the 7s from here, that's a red flag for me. I stop out break even. So I was wrong in the sense that this is a longer term bottom. I gave myself an attempt. I didn't have high conviction. This is it. We're up only from here. But I gave myself a low risk, high reward scenario. And the only way I was able to stay completely in control of that trade was selling partial into strength, lowering my cost basis, and putting a break even stop. And so on this big drop out of nowhere, not out of nowhere, but harder drop than we would expect. I would have expected a weekly higher low is the most likely scenario here. And news helped that not be the case. But I didn't lose $1. That's how you trade these sectors. And it has to be selling partial into strength. The theme of the video is you have to sell partial positions into strength. CMPS, watching a tightening weekly range. Low, high, higher, low, anything under 821, just a lower high. Again, I don't really have any interest in the psychedelic sector right now because the bulls are not showing me that I should have any interest. I'm just letting the charts dictate my attention span. And right now it's saying, don't use up your attention and your mental capital on this sector. There's more opportunity elsewhere. And that's the case for the cannabis sector as well. I'm in a swing trade mindset with TCNNF. I'm doing something once every 3 weeks, probably on average, over the summer months, very hands off, keeping an eye on it, knowing that there will come a time where I trade it more actively again, and in the meantime, focused elsewhere. And so that's where I stand at this point, and that is my approach. I hope you're well, do good things. I guess I better show some account proof. All right, I misspoke. Let's be transparent. So it's more like 130%. I thought it was more like 140. Yes, last week it said 170. I was surprised, but that was a glitch, it looks like. So MSOS, year-to-date return, 2%. 1 year return, 44%. And this account, year-to-date, 39%. 1 year, 130%. Life of available data, 6 years, almost 7 at the end of this year, 631%. So averaging cumulatively, average of 85% a year. Obviously, a lot of that was in 2017. Some years it's red, but this is essentially 90% of the trades in this account are long-only cannabis, and it was started from an IRS refund that I didn't think we should be getting, but traded with it anyway in the meantime until the IRS asked for it back, and they never did. So the majority of my gains in this sector are in my day trading account. This is a swing trade mindset for the cannabis sector. And again, just showing you can profit in this sector if you trade, don't become emotionally attached, sell into euphoria, have cash to reload the fear, skip the summer bleeds. It's possible. That's all I'm saying. Do good things. See you next time.